case you didn't know, Cher is an Emma 2.0 with a major update. Hey y'all, it is Cheyenne. Today we are on the front porch of Main Hall at Southern Virginia University, and we're going to do something a little bit fun today. We are going to look at the novel Emma by Jane Austen and its film adaptation, Clueless, directed by Heckerling. Now, there is so much within these two that can be talked about, especially what this film adaptation is accomplishing. But I want to specifically talk about how Heckerling shifts the main character, the Emma character, Cher, and the large implications that has. So let's first look at Emma in Jane Austen's novel Emma and see who she is. The novel starts off saying that Emma Woodhouse, handsome, clever, and rich, with a comfortable home and happy disposition, seemed to unite some of the best blessings of existence, and had lived nearly 21 years in the world with very little to distress or vex her. Now, she is definitely living the ideal young adult life without stress, it sounds like. But Emma has a major character flaw, which is what drives the plot of this novel, and that character flaw is her vanity. Now, this specific strain of vanity that Emma has is that she believes that she knows and understands people's emotions and feelings, and that she knows situations. Essentially, that she is more intellectually and socially aware than everyone else around her. Now, one of the funniest moments where she displays this vanity to its utmost is when Jane Fairfax receives the pianoforte from her mysterious lover. Now, when they're talking about it, Emma thinks it's from a man who is already engaged. And she's like, oh my goodness, what does this mean? This definitely is from him. Just look at the way she's blushing. But we really know that it's from Frank Churchill. But Frank is keeping this on the down low. And Jane, she knows it's from Frank, and she's keeping it on the down low. And Emma then goes to say that Jane Fairfax must have felt the improper, dangerous distinction, that of having an engaged man give her such a gift. But Frank, who knows the situation, and Jane Fairfax, who knows the situation, Frank comes to say, as to that, I do not, but then is completely cut off by Emma saying that you couldn't know how Jane Fairfax feels. Yikes, Emma, I think he does know how Jane Fairfax feels, and Jane Fairfax and Frank Churchill know something about the situation that you don't. But Emma thinks that she knows everything. And I find that to be one of the funniest situations or circumstances in the novel. And she continues to do this and put forth her version of the world and what she thinks is right and how it must be right in a ton of situations. She's, in all honesty, clueless, which brings us to our film adaptation, where Cher is our Emma character. And she is like Emma. She's clever, she's rich, she's handsome. She's got kind of the world at her feet. She's the most popular girl in high school.
We have a way normal life for a teenage girl.
And like Emma as well, she deals with vanity, but her vanity is a slightly different strain. She prides herself, her vanity is that she can manipulate and control others around her. And with this, she has a slight social intelligence that Emma does not have and is completely clueless on. Where Emma completely social, will profile a person immediately, Cher will take the time to observe and to have a pretty decent profile of a person. We really see this when she is manipulating her teachers into giving her and the rest of the school later on a better grade. She distinctly goes toward each teacher's disposition to get what she wants. And when she couldn't figure out Mr. Hall, she sat there and studied him and learned how she can get him to give her a better grade.
Here's the 411 on Mr. Hall.
She manipulates Josh, she manipulates her dad, and she has this ability to understand people a little bit more, and is not completely clueless compared to Emma, though Cher is clueless on some characters, as we do find out.
Christian is a cake boy!
Now, these two things that might not be the biggest difference with these characters, but what is an immense difference between the film and the novel is how these characters, how Emma and Cher come to realize their faults. There's two big scenes that these characters go through and how they then come to their realization. For Emma, this happens on Box Hill. Now they're out in a picnic, and Miss Bates, who is of a lower social class, makes a pretty degrading comment on herself. And Emma, who should not be further degrading her, actually does. And then everyone's in this awkward moment like, did she just really say that and further degrade Miss Bates? So another gentleman makes a somewhat also degrading comment toward himself, trying to alleviate the situation, and Emma goes and says, "Oh no, you're not that. You're great." It's like, "Oh, Emma, you completely just botched this whole thing." But she doesn't realize. She doesn't realize what she had done. And it wasn't until after the party, Mr. Knightley says, "Emma, you've really made a huge mistake." In fact, this is what he says. "How could you be so unfeeling to Miss Bates? How could you be so insolent in your wit to a woman of her character, age, and situation? Emma, I had not thought it possible." And then he goes to say, were she and your equal in situation? But Emma, consider how far this is from being the case. She is poor. She has sunk from the comfort she was born to. And if she lived to old age, must probably sink more. Her situation should secure your compassion. It was badly done indeed. You, whom she had known from an infant, whom she had seen grow up from a period when her notice was an honor, to have you now in thoughtless spirits and the pride of the moment laugh at her, humble her, and before her niece too, and before others, may of whom certainly some would be entirely guided by your treatment of her. I mean, essentially that she really messed up, and she didn't understand until then that she had messed up, and then she goes and starts correcting her actions. Now, this is completely different from Cher. Cher, this moment comes when she enters like the school lunch. They're sitting outside and everyone's gathered around Ty, which is her project, and they're giving her all this attention, and Ty starts telling this fishtail of a story, and Cher's like, "That's not what happened. You're just saying these things to get this attention." And she starts having this inner monologue saying, "What monster have I created? How did this happen?" And several scenes after, we get a lot of voiceover, which is a huge sign that this is internal thinking of Cher. And she comes to a realization that she has been manipulating and that she has created Ty into someone that was not good, who's started to treat people badly, and that she herself had been treating people wrong. And she comes to this realization on her own. Wow, this is a huge distinction. Heckerling takes an Emma character and makes her a more empowered individual who can recognize her own faults to then correct. Wow, okay. Is this the case though? Like, if we think about our lives now, can we fully self-correct? Can we have a realization on our own of our own faults and correct? Or do we need to have other people, whether it's parental figures or guidance or life coach or friends or anyone in authority or church leader, whoever it might be, do we need them to help us realize things that we've done badly and poorly? What is it? Now, I don't really know, and I really do believe it's somewhere in the middle ground. that real life probably is, but I found it absolutely fascinating what Heckerling has done here. And to push it even further, you could even suggest, especially since Cher is a high school student, she is still a minor, she is still a child. Could this also be suggesting that parents do not need to teach and correct their children in order for them to grow and become a better person? I would hesitate on this, but this is what this film could be pushing towards, whether Heckerling intends to or not. Just the way she structured this is implying such. Now, I would like to hear some of your comments on this. And I would like to hear other pieces of literature that you might add to this conversation and put it in the chat below or into the comments. It can be a chat box too, the comment section below. I do want to add one thing here, though, I am just now thinking about, is that this idea that children are able to self correct is also the idea that children are able to self teach or self teach themselves. This is going towards a Rousseauian form of education. He believes Jean-Jacques Rousseau, is a philosopher who did a lot on politics, but also on education. And he believed that children are born inherently with all the virtues they need and could have. They are born essentially perfect, and that as a child learns and grows, they should rely on their own instincts, which is this perfect virtuous instinct, in order for them to become the most perfect virtuous person that can be. And the more outside sources there are, whether it's parents or society, coming to teach, correct, and shape the child, the more this child then is corrupted, according to Rousseau. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here a little bit in how Heckerling has set up Cher and Clueless. Now, again, these are just my thoughts, but I hope you've enjoyed them. I would love to hear your thoughts, and like always, keep cultivated
Ugh, as if.
and cultivating.